Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do you want to improve the intake on your BMW X3? I'll show you how. All right, so let's talk about this project a little bit before we do it and the reasons why you're going to want to do this yourself. Now, this is the MST intake for the B58 motor in my BMW X3. Got it from Kies Motorsports, and I'm really excited to get this installed. This can really make a difference in your car. It's going to add a little bit of intake. It might add a little bit of nominal power. It'll add a little bit of sound, and it's a great way to get away from that kind of restrictive OEM airbox. Plus, you have a cleanable, washable filter. So this is something you can reuse over and over and over again. All right, so let's pop the hood, let's get started, and I'll walk you through the whole process. All right, so one of the very first things we're going to want to do is pull off the engine bar. Now, I have an upgraded engine bar in this case from the X3M. Normally, this is a silver piece of aluminum that has a 12mm bolt at both ends. So just don't be surprised if this one looks a little bit different. You could potentially try to work with the bar in place, but it's really not worth it. Just take the bar off. That's really simple. It makes getting your airbox out much more convenient. All right, so go ahead and take that off. In my case, it's a little bit different, but you take the two 12mm bolts out and pull this bar off. As a side note, never drive your car with these bars missing. All right, so take this off. We're going to take the airbox out next. Next up, we're going to want to take the OEM airbox out. You can see there's a worm drive right here. You can use a small flat screwdriver to undo that. The MAF sensor you're going to want to take out as well. These little clips can be a little stiff. If you do use a tool, as you can see, I'm using a screwdriver in this case. Just be gentle when you do it. Pry back and then press down, and then the MAF sensor cable will come off. Tuck that out of the way. So go ahead and undo this worm drive. The lower one we'll get to in a second. But once this is out, you can pull back this rubber boot, and then the airbox will just lift up and out. It's on rubber grommets, so just kind of rock it back and forth and come out. If it hasn't come out since the factory, it might be a little bit stiff, but don't worry, it will come out. All right, so when you take the airbox out, one of two things is going to happen. And I'd probably take this screw out first. In my case, this T20 screw right here was actually fairly loose, and so it really wasn't holding these two pieces together anymore. But by default, this holds this secondary airbox to the primary, so you are going to want to take that T20 screw out before you take the airbox out. Now, in addition, you'll see we've got these grommet feet here, and there should be one here. For whatever reason, I'm missing one, so make sure that those stay in place. And then when you look down here at the bottom, you'll see right here, you have another worm drive right here. So go ahead and take that, back off that worm drive, and then take this entire intake boot out. All right, so as you can tell, the lower intake is now off. This kit comes with two lower intake boots. So one of them is a little bit smaller. You can see they're flared on one side. So one's a little bit smaller. Nope, just doesn't fit, so that's not right. You can tell one's a little bit bigger. You put that bigger side down onto your intake boot, just like that, really nicely, okay? And then you have 3 hose clamps that are included in the kit. These are going to be the 2 of the larger ones, so you're going to want to take one of the large hose clamps. Go ahead and just fit that into place now, because now that with this boot in place, we can get this down, get it really well secure, all set without having to fiddle with it later. The upper one we'll deal with in just a second. So go ahead and get this boot on, go ahead and get your hose clamp on, and we'll move on. All right, next up, so let's get the heat shield set up. There's a little baggie with some spare parts in it. This is going to be the mount. This is going to go into one of those grommets to help hold it all in place. So go ahead and put this mount on through those holes. There's 2 small silver screws that are going to go in from the back side. And then this is going to go on the bottom side like that. With a bolt and a washer through it. So go ahead and get this installed, and then we're going to be sliding the heat shield into place. All right, so now just simply take the heat shield, slide it down in. Should just fit really, really nicely. And you can see where it's going to fit on that grommet right there. It's also going to fit right here underneath your engine brace where this bolt goes. So you can see between the 2 of them, it's going to sit like that. All right, so go ahead and get this secure. Go ahead and put the screw in, or excuse me, the bolt in here. To the little foot that goes into the grommet, and then we're going to also lightly secure it here at the top so it all holds in place really nicely. All right, so back to the original airbox for a moment with the heat shield in place. We're going to take the MAF sensor out. These are 2 T20s. We're not going to reuse these. We'll use 2 of the small metal screws that come out of the bag for the intake. So go ahead and take this out and put it into your new intake pipe. All right, now that the MAF sensor's in place, I've slid the heat shield back a little bit so you can get a better view of this. I want you to be able to see that I've got the hose clamp on now. The worm drive is on this side. I should be able to come down at it from above to tighten it up once it's ready. It's tightened down just enough to stay in place. I don't want it to slide around a bunch because it's going to be hard to adjust once it's in. Now I've also backed the heat shield off and I've got a little bit of flexibility in the heat shield because what we want to do now is take the intake pipe, fit it down into the boot, and then fit it in through the opening in the pipe. If you have to, you could always use a little bit of soapy water or a little bit of WD-40. This is pretty sticky, so if it just helps you slide it in, you can. Just don't get any soapy water into your intake. All right, so go ahead and get your inlet pipe on and up through the heat shield. All right, so one tip here really quickly, and I left my wrench all the way in place. I slipped the engine cover back, and I have about 3 extensions to all the way get down at this nice down angle all the way down to the worm drive, and it fits really, really easily with an 8mm socket. So that's now down and tight. You can see the heat shield is slightly out of position, but I'm going to fix that in just a second. And then we're going to get the intake, the actual filter itself for the intake on next. All right, so we're going to install the filter next. I'm going to do it without the hose clamp here just for a second. See, it just fits on really, really nicely like that. So just tighten down the hose clamp just a little bit, fit it in and over the pipe, and make sure that the hose clamp is past that little ridge on the end of the pipe right there. That way you've got a good secure fit, just like that. And then go ahead and tighten it down with a screwdriver or an 8mm socket. And we're going to put the cover on next. Go ahead and slide the cover right into place really nicely. You've got the rest of those 3mm machine screws that are going to go in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Secure them down, and then we're going to get the engine brace back on with this upper clip pulled over so it holds it in place. Other than that, we're almost done. All right, so now that the lid is in securely, you can put your engine brace back on. In this case, you can see that this bracket just needs to come over a little bit, so I'm just going to pull this over into place as I put the engine brace on, and that will sit below the flange on the engine brace. Okay, so go ahead and put those both back on, and the torque values for the engine brace will be in the video description. All right, in and secure, that looks really, really good. I am psyched to have this in the car. Last thing you want to do is make sure to plug in your MAF sensor. Don't forget that. Press it down in until it clicks, and press down on the little white tab. You should be good to go. All right, project's all done. Good job. All right, y'all, all done, so go ahead and clean up and put your tools away. I'm really excited to have this in the car. This is such an easy install from MST and Kies, and everything you need will be listed in the video description below, including the link to the intake directly. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes a genuine difference to my channel, and I would truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on my next project.